It is our pleasure, and good evening, everybody. Hope you all have been enjoying the action out on track tonight. You're about to see a parade of some outstanding historic race cars going all the way back to 1927. All the cars you're about to see on track, for the most part, are the real thing, painstakingly restored to their current glory by their owners. We have everything from late models, we have modifieds, we've got a Camaro stock car that you all might have heard revving up behind the grandstands just a few minutes ago. I think it was loud enough it almost covered up the sound of the sprint cars. Hopefully we'll be pushing here in just a few moments to get out on track to show off some cool race cars. While we're waiting for them to head out on track, I hope most of you came out behind the grandstand earlier this evening to see our cars and talk to our drivers and owners. They all like to share a lot of great stories. Yeah, it looks like we're finally underway and rolling. A couple beautiful vintage mid-1980s sprint cars rolling into turn number one. And we got one car entering out of turn number 4 that looks a little bit out of place. That's one of my favorite cars in the club. That is a 1963 Formula V car. 1963 was the inaugural year for the Formula V championship run by SCCA. The rule book for that championship was a little unique. The cars had to be made almost entirely out of stock VW Beetle parts. So you had stock drum brakes out of a Beetle, front and rear suspension, the motor, the works. That being said, that car is not all original. Its roll hoop is not as it was back in 1963 because the rule book stipulated that the roll hoop could be no further than 3 inches beneath the top of the driver's head, which is another way of saying you don't have a roll hoop. The Formula V car passing on the outside of that gorgeous white number 15. That's the 1927 car I mentioned just a few moments ago. It's a replica of a 1927 Miller 91. Harry Miller, an absolute automotive genius. Between 1923 to 1928, his cars made up 83% of the Indy 500 starting field. And in that time, he accounted for 9 race wins as a chassis builder and 3 further race wins as an engine manufacturer. That car is small, but it lays down about 250 horsepower. With a top speed of just over 170 miles per hour if you got it out on a stretch of road long enough. The livery that it's painted up in is meant to look like Cliff Woodbury's car from the 1927 Indy 500. Started 6th, finished 19th after laying down a qualifying speed of just over 113 miles an hour, folks. That's 113 miles an hour average around a 2.5-mile oval with no seat belts and a leather cap for a helmet. Exiting now out of turn number 4 and going down the front straight, that white number 74 Curtis Craft Midget. It's one of the most unique cars in our club in that it is completely original, save for the engine. It's chassis number 191. Curtis Craft built 387 in total, although not all of them were actually made for racing. Some were sold as parts kits for teams to swap out pieces when they needed to. And that number 74 Curtis Craft has a very long and distinguished list of former drivers. That includes Rayleigh Goodwin, Mel Cornett, Lee Koonsman, and Don Brown. So a lot of really talented guys sitting behind the wheel of that car in its long history. That stunning number 12 Camaro going into turn number 1. The red and gold number 291 that's currently navigating between turns 1 and 2 and heading out onto the backstretch has a unique story. It doesn't have a lot of racing history to speak of, but the current owner found it in a field completely dilapidated with actual trees growing up through the chassis. Took it home and he told me it probably took roughly 4 years or so to get that car restored and running again. He told me the engine was in such bad shape that when they went to do the engine change, the spark plugs had actually completely rusted out of the motor. So I'll tell you a little bit about our club. This is one of many events that we will be going to throughout the 2023 season. We'll be at Salem Speedway next weekend. We'll be heading to Terre Haute, Kokomo, just about everywhere across the Midwest, sharing just a little bit of racing history everywhere we go. Definitely put a smile on my face to see all the people out behind the grandstand. Saw a lot of kids sitting in the cars. Our drivers love to see kids in the cars get their picture taken, smiling ear to ear. And it looks like the white flag is out for the Midwest Vintage Old Timers. Go ahead and wrap up our program. I hope you folks enjoyed watching our historic cars on track for just a few minutes. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of the action out on track, and stay safe.